You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Excited to get started today. I'm Stephen Cabral, board-certified naturopathic doctor, and today on our Mindset and Motivation Monday, I wanted to bring you an episode. So I just did a 45-minute interview with a very well-known and popular men's podcast. I think it's called Elite Man is the name of the actual podcast. But what I did was I kind of ran the gambit on that, helping guys who are entrepreneurs and they're looking to better themselves and mindset and really just improve their life overall. And I wanted to share one topic with everyone because this isn't just for guys. And it's about this topic and this, I think it's a philosophy, and it's a philosophy that took me a decade to really discover and work with. And that's about making progress in life, not always perfection. So I literally, my parents tell me from literally the day I was born, I was basically a perfectionist. I needed everything to be perfect. I wanted to make sure that I mastered whatever I was doing, and that I was always trying to be the best in it. Now, the issue with that is, so the nice thing is it can make you excel at certain things, that's for sure. But the other thing is it can make you actually burn out and really overstress yourself. And that was an issue with my life as well, is that I put in too much effort sometimes. I tried too much at too many different things. And as my mother used to say, I would burn the candle at both ends. And that kind of burnt out my body. Now, in combination with some poor conventional medicine decisions, putting me on antibiotics for 3 years when I was in my teen years, that totally just wiped out my immune system, wiped out my body. And my body crashed hard. And many of you know my story about how it took me years to rebuild my body from the ground up. Literally, I had to leave school for a period of months, and it was a really dark time. It was a really bad time. And it was at that time that I started to realize that I might never get better again. And that was a real eye-opener. And when that happened, my entire philosophy, my brain started to make this shift that I need to start to look at life a little differently. Like, I might not be the same person ever again. I might not be able to either play sports or excel at school or any of those things because, again, I had terrible brain fog. I had a very difficult time sitting for entrance exams and things like that for college. I would just space out. I would start to sweat. My hormones were a mess. It was really bad. And so I had to start looking at myself differently. And so how I first began this is that when I realized that no one in conventional medicine, no doctor that I saw had the answers for me to get well because my blood work looked fine, so technically I didn't have a disease, I was going to have to start to rely on myself more. And I was going to have to start to read more books. And I was going to have to search out different mentors and coaches and other health practitioners. And maybe they weren't MDs. And this was very new for me. I didn't know how I was going to figure this out. All I knew was that I had to start moving forward. And so what my tip is for you as well is that you're not always going to have all of the answers right in front of you. That's almost impossible because if you had all of the answers in front of you, you may not even have that question in the first place. Usually when we're struggling with something is we don't have access to the answers that we need. And so how I looked at it is I need to start just making forward progress. Every day, take one more step closer to my goal. And my goal back then was I needed to be able to get back my health. I needed to be able to not walk up a flight of stairs and have to sit down. I wanted to be able to maybe play sports again, maybe not competitively, but I actually wanted to. And this, believe me, even in my early 20s, I was like, wow, if I have kids one day, I literally can't play basketball with them. I can't run around. I mean, it was really heartbreaking. It was terrible to even think about. I hate going back there into those times, but I just want you to know that if you're dealing with any of this right now, there's millions of other people dealing with the same exact thing. I mean, there is an answer to whatever you're dealing with. You might not find it tomorrow, but that's why don't count on being perfect. Just start moving forward. That's really what it's all about. I talked about this last, I believe it was let's say it was episode 107 of the Cabral Concept, I talked about, stop being so hard on yourself. A lot of times we're comparing ourselves to others, right? So we're looking at someone like, oh, well, why did their body in such great shape? How did they get well? Why don't they ever get sick? It seems like their kids are never in a bad mood or whatever it might be. And you're a lot of times you're comparing yourself to a situation that not only do you not know, or you're comparing your starting point with someone else's, who's just crossing the finish line. They're where they're at. Like if someone comes into my office and they're trying to compare their health to where mine is today, and I have abundant energy, and they're saying, oh, well, you don't understand, you have good energy and I have none. I can barely wake up in the morning. It takes me until like 10 or 11 o'clock to feel like I'm awake. Well, I mean, I was there. Like talk about 10 or 11 o'clock, I would never wake up. So it's one of those things where you can't compare yourself to anyone else. And when you compare yourself to someone else in general, you're going to always leave frustrated because, first of all, you're placing judgment. So you're judging yourself as either better than or worse than. And judging better than or worse than is never a healthy thing for you to do because you start to look at everything in your life as better than or worse than. And you start to judge yourself as better than, worse than in every situation. That's going to lead to a lot of anxiety. It's going to lead to depression and a very poor mindset. You don't always want to lead or live a day-to-day basis of judgment. It's just not a healthy thing. So what I talked about on that podcast is really figure out what it is that you want to achieve and then just work every day towards that and realize that your body is not a machine. It's an intricate organism. It's a living thing. And it gets better one day at a time. It loses weight one day at a time. And it keeps that weight off and stays well one day at a time. And so all you need to do is start stringing together victories, meaning that every day you're doing a little something better for yourself. And that means, doing something like I talk about is starting your morning with a smoothie. That's just a huge thing that you can do because then you're cutting out those processed carbs in the morning. You're not having that cereal, that muffin, the whatever it might be. Or for lunch, you're choosing those veggies or that salad or whatever it might be instead of the pizza or the sandwich or something like that that's going to deteriorate your health. Instead of doing all of that coffee, maybe you're cutting down a size in your coffee and you're drinking more water. So all you're doing is you're making this steady progress. Now, again, will tomorrow you wake up and see a different person in the mirror? Most likely not. And that's okay because I also talked about that a lot of times when we reach our goal, and again, I've been doing this now for 20 years with myself and with others as well, is when someone reaches their goal, they do feel proud and they're very happy to have reached that goal and they're excited. But you know what? Whenever we reach that goal, it's never quite as sweet as we thought it would be. And the reason is that part of it as humans is that we're along this ride, whatever ride it is, no one really knows, but we're on this ride and it's a journey. And that journey is life. And so we don't want to always arrive at our destination too quickly. Meaning like if you're planning your retirement now, that may not be such a great thing unless you're in your maybe 50s or 60s or 70s or whatever it might be. It's not always looking too far out to the future. Now, if you have digestive issues or you have energy-based issues, of course, you want those to be fixed pretty quickly. But then think about if I have extra energy, now what can I do with that? So set that next goal. Okay, so when I have extra energy, I'm going to start, I'm not a huge fan of my job, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start maybe moonlighting a little bit. I'm going to start writing that book. I'm going to start, doing whatever it might be. And again, I don't want to put my goals or someone else's goals into your thought process. All I want you to do is realize that don't rush to always have to achieve your goal tomorrow. That only puts more stress on you. And then remember, once you achieve one goal, you're most likely going to say, okay, well, what's the next thing I want to achieve? And that's why we're at never-ending goal-setting machines, right? Or goal-setting organisms. And that's the nice way to look at it is that one journey just leads to another. One path leads to another. One door opens to another. How many cliches and analogies can I use? So what I want to say to you is, again, just leave it with this one thing is that you need to focus today. You need to focus right now on making progress, not perfection. Don't beat yourself up. Try to be good 9 out of 10 meals. Try to be good 9 out of 10 workouts, 9 out of 10 everything. If you do that, you're still an A student, right? If you're even 80%, even if you get 8 out of 10 correct, well, you're still a B student. Think of that way. Think of that's the progress that you need to make. And I'll tell you, action begets more action. Once you start moving that direction, kind of that ball gets rolling, it builds momentum. You're going to want to do more. You're going to want to do more clean eating. That's what I found is that in the beginning, I didn't really enjoy the clean foods better than the unhealthy foods. But then I realized I had less inflammation. I started to get more lean and I had more energy. And so I'm like, okay, I just want more of that. And every time I eat the poor foods, I feel more sluggish. So I want to do less of that. And it just happens. It just starts to progress. As they say, right? Let's use one more cliche. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither are you. So that's what we want to do. We want to move towards that target. Keep the target in mind. Keep it in your mind every single day and just work towards that. And if you do that, I have no doubt you're going to be successful. You can't fail. You will be successful. The only matter is time. That's it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another Cabral Concept.
Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my Health Results Accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stephencabral.com/courses.